Alright, so I had to fix my tables after I had somebody go over the physics of my Star Wars datasheet and found out it was completely wrong. So unfortunately I'm not very good and I don't know any theoretical physicists to help me out, so I had to have some colleagues work on some of the physics for me, and they found some vectors and some errors and some equations and such, and so we had them fixed. So what we found out is that the fighters have a Turbolaser of 450 terawatts, and we know that the standard Turbolaser is 3,750 terawatts, and the extremely powerful heavy Turbolasers are 30,000 terawatts. You see these heavy Turbolasers on the Venator class Star Destroyers, in the Star Destroyers, and the Victory class Star Destroyers. The next we're going to do is we're going to look and we're going to see how they compare with their weapons and shields within the Star Trek universe. What you're going to find out is the original Galaxy class starship is about equal to a Star Destroyer in strength and in shields, as well as the Klingon large bird of prey. And how do we know what the shields are on the Imperial Star Destroyer? Well, it takes a little bit of effort, but you bear with me. So what we have to do is we have to find out that the Venator class shields are, and what we can do is we can find out and compare that. We know in canon that it says that the Maleficent class ship, 4 of them are equal to the Venator. So we have to find out what its attack power is. Once we find out what the attack power is of the Maleficent class, we have to times it by 4, and then we'll find out how many shields does it take, or how much energy does the shield take to keep it going. And once we find that number, then the next step is timesing that by 4. So we find out what its firepower is, we times it by 4, that ends up being the shield, or a estimate or close estimate of the shield of the Venator class starship. Next, then we're going to go and we're going to look at the Venator class and we're going to compare it to the Victory. Now in canon, the Victory and the Venator ship are both exactly the same in shields and in weapons. And then also in canon, the Victory class Star Destroyer shield is half the strength of a Star Destroyer. So that's what we had to do to figure that out. If you have any questions, make a comment. If you think it's not right or you see any kind of errors, point them out to me. I'd appreciate it, and make a comment. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy, and pretty soon I will finish the rest of the physics of the rest of the ships. I have got most of them done, and I will start my series of Star Wars versus Star Trek. One of the things I would also want to talk about is the amount of damage a ship can take with photon torpedoes. Now, we've seen the Enterprise take something, it's estimated or said, about 4 to 5 torpedoes before it goes down. And each torpedo is about 65 million megatons. So that's about how much damage a Galaxy-class starship can take. Let's just say 4 torpedoes. So then you would take the 4 torpedoes and you would obviously times them by 64, and that would give you an idea of how much damage it can take. Now, the ships of the Star Wars universe, they don't really ever say anything too much about it, and the only thing I have ever come across is that it is in canon that basically the Victory class Star Destroyer and the Venator are the same, and that the Imperial Star Destroyer is basically, as far as shields and armor, is twice that of the Victory. So, what we do know from the Clone Wars, that a Venator class ship would go down after being hit with a 100 megaton missile. So, I will have to say that, alright, in that case, I would estimate that the Star Destroyer would probably be about 200 to 250 megatons of damage before it will go down. Now that is an astronomically huge amount of damage. That's like being shot with multiple nukes and having really very little effect. I mean, that is incredibly powerful. But that's kind of what we see in canon, so I'm going to have to go with it, and we'll see what happens. The thing I don't understand is if this ratio is true, it means that the very small Enterprise D, which is about 600 meters, and then the Star Destroyer, which is like 1,600 meters, which is almost 3 times the size of the Enterprise, is able to take about the same amount of damage from torpedoes. But we'll just leave it at that. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you think it's bullshit or not? Go ahead and tell me. Make a comment. If you think that I'm off or you see something's wrong, please give me a description or tell me why I'm wrong, and then I'll see what I can do about looking into it and fixing it.